in the pair from the road to El Dorado isn't hard. Both are criminals.
But both of you richly deserve to be in jail. I have your records before me.
Both make a pact to stay away from women.
She's whoa, she's trouble. Wait a minute. No, listen. We are partners.
We're partners.
We have a plan.
Chell is off limits?
Bravo! Chell is off limits.
2, that you and me will not, while this matter is being settled, look at any liquor, nor any woman, black, white, or brown.
Both led by a map to a primitive country. Both hatch a plan involving plunder.
New plan. We find the city of gold. We take the gold.
Then we'll subvert that king. We'll seize his royal throne and loot the country 4 ways from Sunday.
Both hold on to the tail of a horse. A prophecy
Behold!
surrounding the coming of
As
both.
the prophecies foretold.
Both mistaken for gods and later laugh about it in a private setting.
Think we're nuts. It's an entire city of suckers.
They think I'm a god?
Both perform false miracles. Both put an end to the high priest's sacrifice.
Stop! Hold on, laddie buck! There'll be no execution of prisoners in this army.
And now you will, of course, wish to have the losing team sacrifice.
There will be no sacrifices! Not now, not ever.
Off your hunkers! No more groveling. We ain't gonna put your city to the torch. Nor hang you in chains, nor rape your daughters.
Both stand to gain a ton in treasure. Similar to the man who would be king, one decides to stay and rule, while the other intends on returning home with his half of the gold. Michael, like Danny from The Man Who Would Be King, begins to believe the lie that he was meant to rule. Both are revealed to be only human after being seen bleeding, and both will watch their treasure wasted in the panic of escape. Sun scenes were obviously done simply to draw the connection between the two movies. The Road to El Dorado contains much of the same symbolism of the previous two films, along with having a virtually identical storyline: trumpets, pyramids, and sacrifice. And here, it's clear that, like in Stargate, Michael has been mistaken for the sun god shown here putting on his sun crown. You even have the people with the strange masks, and an arrival with a pale horse. In the Bible, there are 4 horsemen, or riders of the apocalypse. One is white and the other is pale, like the sickly shade of a corpse. Then there's this episode from the 6th season of The Simpsons, called Homer the Great. In this episode, Homer finds his friends acting secretive and receiving preferential treatment. After some investigating and a bit of meddling, he discovers that his friends Lenny and Carl are members of a secret order called the Stonecutters. But masonry is obviously what the Simpsons creators had in mind. Masonic compasses and squares, along with pyramids, suns, and all-seeing eyes are throughout the interior of this Stonecutter Lodge. Homer then learns that Grandpa Simpson is a member, making Homer eligible for membership. Here's the whole lodge singing about the conspiracies they're involved in.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do. We do.
Who leaves Atlantis off the maps?
Who keeps the Martians under wraps?
So he's accepted, and soon a very familiar scene unfolds. He's initially met with hostility, but the high priest finds a mark on him that signifies divinity. They mistake him for a god and immediately becomes the leader of the group. Soon, he begins to believe the lie and his followers turn against him.
I always wondered if there was a god, and now I know. There is. And it's me.
You're not a god, Homer.
Am I a dog or a god?
We gotta kill him.
Take it easy.
This episode is clearly rooted in Rudyard Kipling's story, and Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, does a good job in making the Freemasons look like no more than a mischievous country club. Dogma is yet another copy of this story. Dogma is about 2 angels who want to get into heaven regardless of the wishes of God, and another group who has been charged to stopping them. Upon arrival, both pairs begin punishing the wealthy.
You and your board are idolaters. You are responsible for raising an icon which draws worship from the Lord. I don't believe in voodoo, but I do believe in this.
He shall pay 22 cases of compensation of 4 cows to each wife.
Both are unable to consume alcohol.
Loki tells God he quits, which ruins it for the rest of us, because from that day forward, God decreed that angels could no longer imbibe alcohol.
Contract. Tell His Highness we've given up strong drink.
Both met in the army.
How'd you meet?
We were stationed together.
Last time Danny and me came through the Khyber Pass, we fought our way, yard by bloody yard, and General Bobs called us heroes afterwards.
Both suffered for 1,000 years.
To accomplish here, you too know what it feels like to be cast aside. But you've only dealt with the pain a few years. I've dealt with it for a millennia.
3 summers and 1,000 years ago.
Both are seen bleeding. And as usual, one angel wants to stay while the other wants to go back home.
I'm going back to Wisconsin. We're going home, Loki. And no one, not you, not even the Almighty himself, is gonna make that otherwise.
The movie actually has Enoch displayed for a brief time, and a vast portion of the Book of Enoch is devoted to angels. Then there's Star Wars, a slightly more subtle retelling of the same story, and once again, traces of the same 2 characters. Han Solo and Luke Skywalker are a cultural icon, but they appear to be a bit more than that. Han Solo from Star Wars and Danny from The Man Who Would Be King have quite a bit in common. Both are longtime smugglers.
Boy, it's lucky you had these compartments.
I use them for smuggling. I never thought I'd be smuggling myself in them.
Rifles?
Well, heaven help you if you're caught with those at the border.
Gun running isn't exactly new to us.
Both have a brainy best friend.
Now what?
This is some rescue. When you came in here, didn't you have a plan for getting out?
He's the brains, sweetheart. Which means she's got
14 2/3.
Both were honored as war heroes with their brainy best friend.
Last time Danny and me came through the Khyber Pass, we fought our way, yard by bloody yard, and General Bobs called us heroes afterwards.
Both ended up snowblind, which is blindness due to extreme cold.
I can't see.
Your eyesight will return in time.
Danny went snowblind.
Both pairs have a grudge against an empire.
I've seen a lot of action.
With all we've been through, sometimes I'm amazed we're in as good condition as we are. What with the rebellion and all.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Great country. Or was, till the bureaucrats took over and ruined everything. Because them that govern spend all their time making up new laws to stop men like you and me from getting anywhere. And whose loss is it, eh? Why, England's, of course.
We go back a long way, Lando and me.
Can you trust him?
No. He's got no love for the Empire, I can tell you that.
Do you suppose if a man thought twice, he'd give his life for Queen and country? Not bloody likely.
Both pairs have been mistaken for gods.
I could be mistaken. They're using a very primitive dialect, but I do believe they think I am some sort of god.
Both are impulsive warriors.
He certainly has courage.
What good will it do us if he gets himself killed? Come on.
And what, may I ask, did you think you were playing at? Charging the enemy single-handed?
And even though there's no good reason to threaten someone with 1,000 years of torture, since humans don't live beyond 130, they are still both threatened with 1,000 years of suffering.
You will therefore be taken to the Dune Sea and cast into the pit of Kharkoum, the nesting place of the all-powerful Sarlacc.
Doesn't sound so bad.
In his belly, you will find a new definition of pain and suffering, as you are slowly digested over 1,000 years.
And both have stood with their friend at the edge of a pit in the middle of a desert with people crowded around intending on pushing them in. And again, the characters with the ropey hair get a scene or two. Even Chewbacca can be accounted for. According to Muslim tradition, like Han Solo, the Antichrist is friends with a furry creature who's so furry one could not tell its front from its back. This furry creature identified itself